What's up, everyone? Hope everybody out there is off to a great week. Here we are, 2026. Man, we knew some changes were coming. We knew some things were going to be happening. And here we go. The first news today, right now, Steve Phelps and NASCAR parting ways, announced that he's resigning from his position in NASCAR as the commissioner. Surprised they didn't use the term mutually parting ways as we normally hear in NASCAR when drivers or crew chiefs are fired. Basically put it that way. But no, as this reported, he resigned. So today I want to take a look because there's a lot of people talking about Steve Phelps and everything else. Today I want to take a look at what did he do in NASCAR? What were some of the things that happened under his command? And where did he come from? How did he reach a role of being ahead of NASCAR like this? Now, I want to say this to start out with. For anybody out there who is on board with what the announcement of today is, you got some people to thank. And that's going to be Denny Hamlin and Michael Jordan over there at 2311, and also Bob Jenkins over there at Front Row Motorsports, because I don't think, without that lawsuit that took place last month, this would be happening today. So let's dive into this right now. Let's start out first with Steve Phelps. Let's take a look at his history, because right out of college, he went to work for a company called American Home Products. I promise you I'm going to try to keep this short. He was a brand manager for Chef Boyardee. Later went on to be brand manager for Guinness. So coming from the food and beverage community to start out with marketing, obviously, that was his specialty. That was his background. And then from there, he went on to become marketing manager for the NFL. Now, this is something that we've talked about in the past because we see how much NASCAR has kind of resembled NFL with different things that take place, including a commissioner. So different things with that. But then he went on to be the vice president of corporate marketing for the NFL. Was with them, I believe, a total of 14 years. So got his feet wet with sports, but again, this isn't racing in this situation. After that, he spent 1 year as head of global sales for another company. Before, in 2005, he comes to NASCAR. And with this right here, he started out as the VP of corporate marketing. And within 1 year, he was promoted to chief marketing officer of NASCAR. And I'm going to tell you, this man had a lot of titles over the years. By 2010, he was named senior VP and didn't keep that for that long because 3 years later, he was the executive vice president of NASCAR. And once again, changing some roles because in 2018, he went to be called the chief operating officer for NASCAR, but that didn't last long either because by September of that same year, he became the president of NASCAR, the fifth president in the history of NASCAR. And in 2025, and he becomes the commissioner, a role that didn't even exist. That I don't know. Did he? He might have created it himself just because he liked changing titles. I don't know. But anyways, let's take a look now at some of the things that took place under his command right here. Because during this time, this is when the merger between International Speedway Corporation's Penske deal and everything else with NASCAR took place. This allowed NASCAR to secure stake in these racetracks and everything else, have ownership of it. He also spearheaded the next gen car, something that's been conflictional basically since day one between so many different people, including the teams. And then we saw different things with the races themselves. We saw the Clash move to LA, a track that didn't even exist, racing inside of a Coliseum. A lot of money to create the racetrack, a lot of money for travel, for the teams, things that just didn't seem right, but they lasted for a little bit. And then we got to look at the street course. Going to Chicago. An invention of a race course in the streets caused a lot of people in Chicago not to be happy, being pissed about being displaced with not being able to drive their 5-minute drive, taking 20 to 30 minutes. Different things that happened with that. And then we saw the international race with NASCAR going to Mexico. Another thing where teams were kind of pissed about this because it's cost them a lot of money to drive to Mexico. You're not getting your fan base from here to go there. It was just an interesting situation. But the biggest interesting point of this is that none of them worked. All three have been scrapped in the scenario right here because obviously the Clash is at Bowman Gray and Chicago is moving back to Chicagoland and Mexico is gone. Now we do have the Naval Base Street course, but we'll see. We'll see just how long that lasts. But his thing was he was focusing on new demographics. That was a big thing for this right here. He wanted younger fans and new demographics out there, new areas. And in many ways along this time, NASCAR fans felt like he was turning his back on, or under loyal fans that have been here with NASCAR for years. This caused a lot of controversy. And things that led to this right here were also because with the new car, the traditional 5 lug was gone. Now we got a 1 lug that's out there. The numbers, which have always been, I'm going to say always, they've been in different places, but for the most part of years, in the center of the door, were moved forward, caused an uproar amongst so many race fans. And then we got to look at the car itself, because it's basically a spec car that NASCAR owned the intellectual property to themselves on. And outside of that right there, the racing, because we have stage breaks that were introduced, things that people still debate on constantly. I hear it every day. And also the various point systems, from having the chase format, the playoff format, just things that took place with that. Now we also got to look at some of the interesting parts that took place under his command right here. Now, one of the things I got to look at is during COVID, because obviously all sports shut down. During this time, we had iRacing on national television. We had no racing to watch, so we had to watch iRacing, which thank God that was over with all that part, and we got back to racing. Actual racing taking place, one of the first sports to get back underway. But through this time right here, this was an interesting part that was very hard and bad for NASCAR. And this is, of course, at Talladega that year. And this was with the garage pole incident that took place. And with this incident right here, this was a situation that Steve Phelps come right out and classified as a symbol of hate. One that he would later go back after the investigation to recount those words to say, I should have used alleged. But at that time, that's what was put out there. He also went on to notify personally Bubba Wallace in this situation of what was taking place over there, because Bubba didn't even know what the hell was going on. And throughout this process, also they brought in the FBI, which just turned into a national spectacle right here. Was not really a good look in the situations that took place. And if you really take a look at this, Bubba Wallace throughout the situation went from a guy who was a fan favorite throwing the football with race fans during rain delays to dividing the race fan community after this right here. So an incident that divided so much, but was part of what Steve Phelps was about, with having this diversity, inclusion format that he wanted to do. And I think in his mindset, this was something that would attract a different community to the racetrack and work in their benefit. But it's unfortunate how some of these things played out with this. But this is where we get to the real big part right here, because this is the recent stuff, and this is during the trial where he used words like idiot, total ass clown, stupid redneck, and these are words that he used to describe Richard Childress, a man who has been in NASCAR for 55 years, a man who stood with NASCAR when other drivers boycotted it in 1969 at that Talladega Speedway, and just used a terminology that did not sit well with anybody who heard it. And this is obviously a black eye for NASCAR, and one that needed to be healed. And I think this is the first step of them trying to heal this situation right here. But now we got to look at it. NASCAR is at a crossroads right now, because even with the removal of Steve Phelps in this situation, is there something they're going to continue on with the ideology that he had in place right here of trying to get more diversity, younger fans in? I mean, nothing is bad about that in any aspect, but maybe the way some of these things were taking place to make this happen. Or are they going to look more in favor of the history of NASCAR and try to bring some of the old fans back by doing things? And, you know, we got to look at this because there are some good points to this as well. I mean, during this time right here, we got to welcome back North Wilkesboro to the series, also Rockingham and Bowman Gray, bringing the Clash to Bowman Gray. Great idea for that. If we can't have it at Daytona, everybody still wants it back at Daytona, but anyways, we're just weeks away from that. So these things that they did with this right here, it proved to NASCAR this is beneficial, because all those races sold out. It was showing that going back to some of your roots maybe isn't a bad thing all the time. And a lot of new fans got to see some racing nostalgia. So I think it's something that was able to build both the old fan base and a new fan base collectively together. So the question is, has NASCAR learned a lesson with all this right here? Is it something that they have learned a lesson that they can sell out these old racetracks right here? Or is it something that in the future they'll end up selling themselves out again to try to include a new group and try to change what's worked for so many years? Now, I want to say this. I think there's a lot of people who are very influential in everything that took place. I think you as a race fan are one of the biggest voices out there that made a lot of these things happen that are taking place. And we're going to be seeing a lot of changes here soon. But also the people, the racing community, the legends, people of the sport, Dale Jr., Mark Martin, Kenny Wallace, Ken Schrader, Rick Mast. I mean, people that just put their vocal parts out there to say their displeasure with some things. Sometimes they were on board, but just to vocalize different things like this. And I think a lot of people have had an impact with everything that's taken place. So, but the question again, where does it go from now? Where do we go now? Obviously, we got a new point system coming. Is it going to be a full season? We'll see. I think probably be hearing about it this week because you got to distract from this news right here. Stage racing. Are we going to keep stage racing and we'll just throw a checker and keep the race going? Things that I keep hearing from people they'd like to see if that's going to be part of it with keeping the stage racing. The when you're in something that, damn it, I've never liked. I just hope if they keep the playoff format, that goes the hell away. Needs to be a multiple win platform to do that. But here it is. Only time's going to tell. And obviously, Steve Phelps is the first domino to fall in this situation right here. And I'm sure there's more to follow. Not sure more people will be resigning or things like that. But I think we're going to see some other changes. And also, the commissioner role, I just think that will just be gone. I honestly don't even know where the hell it came from. And I don't think it'll be replaced with somebody else. But who knows? Hell, maybe somebody likes having that little plaque on their desk that says, I'm the commissioner of NASCAR. But hopefully the sport gets back to some of its roots right here. I'm seeing the changes, different things that are happening with that. And I'm seeing a lot of old fans start to talk again. Man, here we are. Daytona's coming up. Hell, Cletus McFarland on the list down there for practice with ARCA. Takes place later this week. So, I mean, it's around the corner, man. A lot of things to be excited about. So hopefully NASCAR is going to have some changes and some things that excite other people and bring in some new fans. But don't forget about the old fans because they're the ones that are loyal. They're the ones that are going to stay there. And you appeal to them. That's where family generations of race fans came from. So hopefully new fans, old fans, new drivers, new owners. Hopefully a lot of cool stuff happening. But anyways, man, as always, I want your comments down below. Let's be cool about this. This is no way a way to bash Steve Phelps. I don't know the guy. Obviously, he's very damn good at what he does. He would have never got to the ranks that he did. I don't like to see anybody go through hardship or any bad times. Obviously, probably got a nice package with this right here, stepping away. But still, I wish him well in his next adventures in life. And just don't come back to NASCAR, please. Anyways, have a great week out there. And as always, man, we'll see you at the checkered flag.